Hi, you are watching Global Insight on Voice of Canada, and this is Sana Haroon. Italian-Canadian soccer fans turned out in huge numbers to celebrate Italy's victory over England at the European Championship on Sunday.
The joke in Toronto is if you want to know if Italy is playing football, you only have to listen. There's just something unique and loud, okay, passionate, about the way Italians celebrate the beautiful game. It's safe to say wherever the Azzurri faithful gathered, like here in Vancouver, or in Montreal's large Italian community, La Dolce Vita, or the good life, was in full swing. And it was refreshing. Because for most of the past 16 months, the pandemic has suppressed that love of life. And Toronto's normally vibrant Little Italy wasn't immune to the financial pressures brought on by COVID.
So it was pretty devastating for us, and we really feared for our future because, like many, we didn't really know what was going to happen, and we sort of took it day by day. But as each day progressed, it got worse and worse.
For 53 years, Cafe Diplomatico has been one of the anchors of the neighborhood. In any other year, the Euro Cup is easy business. Open the doors and turn on the TV. But with capacity limits, co-owner Rocco Mastrangelo Jr. had to get used to saying no.
Oh, we're fully booked for today's game, sorry.
That changed as they got closer to the final. COVID rules were relaxed, and Little Italy roared back to life. And then seemingly overnight, everyone was. It was a party that was desperately needed.
The head of Haiti's National Police announced on Sunday that officers have arrested a Haitian man accused of flying into the country on a private jet and working with the masterminds and alleged agents behind the killing of President Jovenel Moise.
This is the man Haitian National Police say organized the killing of the president. His name, Christian Emmanuel Sano.
Qui est maintenant sous contrôle la police.
The chief of the police force calls Sano one of the leaders behind the assassination. He says it was Sano who hired and brought mercenaries into Haiti, and that it was Sano that one of those mercenaries called immediately after the murder.
C'est un individu qui était entré.
The chief says Sano arrived in Haiti at the beginning of June on a private plane. The men he was with were supposed to be his personal security.
I will bring hope to them. Why I will bring hope to them? Because I see their sufferings.
A Twitter account linked to Sano and that campaign has been deleted. One of its last messages was recent, June 7th, a call for a transitional government saying the capital was in complete chaos. The assassination of President Jovenel Moise is driving political tensions even higher. Just 2 days before he was killed, Moise named a new prime minister. The man who was supposed to be replaced, Claude Joseph, is holding on to power. He's also being recognized as Haiti's leader by the international community. Over the weekend, representatives from the U.S. were in Haiti and met government officials and opposition leaders. The White House says it's still studying a request for Haiti for troops to protect infrastructure and stabilize the country.
This is just the beginning of our conversations, and we will remain in close touch with law enforcement, with individuals in Haiti.
To further complicate the crisis, about half of the capital is controlled by gangs. One of the most powerful gang leaders is calling on supporters to take to the streets and for other gangs to join in. At a time when people are desperate for aid organizations are having to shut down programs, fearing violence.
Fearing temperatures and bone-dry conditions have sparked wildfires across the U.S. West Coast.
Blistering high temperatures, bone-dry terrain, and out-of-control fires are burning up America's West, from Oregon to Arizona. Oregon's Bootleg fire is now the largest in the country. In Arizona, 2 firefighters were killed when their plane crashed while surveying flames. And in California, raging fires are swallowing up homes, devastating communities. This latest heat wave coming after parts of the U.S. Southwest experienced the hottest June on record. Experts say climate change is to blame. While air conditioning units strain, debris from the Oregon fire is affecting power lines in Northern California, which has already lost a tenth of its power supply. California's governor has declared a power grid emergency, asking residents to conserve power and water. Lake Mead in Nevada, which supplies water for 25 million people in Los Angeles and across 4 states, is now at the lowest level it's been in its 85-year history, and it's only mid-July. Smoke billowing east from the fires is so intense, even people in Utah, 2 states over, are feeling the effects. Tourists are back in Las Vegas, but doctors are warning against excessive drinking in this excessive heat. Places on Earth.
I think the best way to describe it is that moment when you open the oven and that gust of heat hits you in the face.
This is the second heat wave the West has seen in a little over 2 weeks, once again baking and igniting a region already suffering from extreme drought.
French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday announced that the COVID-19 vaccine would be mandatory for all health workers and those working in long-term care homes.
Soignants et non soignants, des hôpitaux, des cliniques, des maisons de retraite, des établissements pour personnes en situation de handicap, pour tous les professionnels ou bénévoles qui travaillent au contact des personnes âgées ou fragiles, y compris à domicile. La vaccination sera rendue obligatoire sans attendre. J'ai conscience de ce que je vous demande et je sais que vous êtes prêts à cet engagement. Cela participe en quelque sorte de votre sens du devoir. En fonction de l'évolution de la situation, nous devrons sans doute nous poser la question de la vaccination obligatoire pour tous les Français. Mais je fais le choix de la confiance et j'appelle solennellement tous nos concitoyens non vaccinés à aller se faire vacciner dès aujourd'hui au plus vite. Dès le 21 juillet, le pass sanitaire sera étendu aux lieux de loisirs et de culture. Concrètement, pour tous nos compatriotes de plus de 12 ans, il faudra, pour accéder à un spectacle, un parc d'attractions, un concert ou un festival, avoir été vacciné ou présenter un test négatif récent. À partir du début du mois d'août, donc, le pass sanitaire s'appliquera dans les cafés, les restaurants, les centres commerciaux ainsi que dans les hôpitaux, les maisons de retraite, établissements médico-sociaux, mais aussi dans les avions, trains et cars pour les longs trajets. Là encore, seuls les vaccinés et les personnes testées négatives pourront accéder à ces lieux, qu'ils soient d'ailleurs clients, usagers ou salariés. Vous l'avez compris, la vaccination n'est pas tout de suite obligatoire pour tout le monde, mais nous allons étendre au maximum le pass sanitaire pour pousser le maximum d'entre vous à aller vous faire vacciner. Notre pays est confronté à une reprise forte de l'épidémie, qui touche tous les territoires, métropoles comme outre-mer.
Thousands of Cubans took to the streets on Sunday expressing frustration over COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, the pace of vaccinations, and what they call neglect from political leaders.
Estamos aquí por la represión que hay con el pueblo, que nos tienen matándonos de hambre, toda La Habana entera se está derrumbando y estamos sin casa, sin nada. Tienen dinero para construir los hoteles, para construir de todo. Y a nosotros nos tienen pasando hambre y tremendo trabajo.
Y de condena al bloqueo, pero dicen que nosotros no buscamos una solución política elevada, convocando al pueblo a enfrentar al pueblo. Nosotros no llamamos al pueblo a enfrentar al pueblo, nosotros hicimos un llamado al pueblo a defender su revolución, a defender sus derechos. Que tú que me bloqueas, que tú que llevas a cabo la política que viola más los derechos humanos de todo un pueblo durante más de 60 años, las recrudezcas en medio de una situación tan compleja como la pandemia y te quieras presentar como el gran salvador, levántame el bloqueo, levántame las 243 medidas y vamos a ver cómo tocamos y vamos a ver de lo que es capaz de hacer este pueblo, que ha hecho una inmensa obra social con una economía subordinada casi a una economía de guerra por cuenta de estas medidas. ¿A qué le temo? ¿Al ejemplo de Cuba? a lo que puede hacer Cuba en otras situaciones de más posibilidades económicas.
South Africa has deployed soldiers to quell violence that erupted in the wake of former President Jacob Zuma's dwelling, the military said on Monday, after days of protest and looting left at least 6 people dead.
For the next couple of days, other areas going to be affected as well because.
British billionaire Richard Branson on Sunday soared more than 80 kilometers above the New Mexico desert aboard his Virgin Galactic rocket plane and safely returned in the vehicle's first fully crewed test flight to space, a symbolic milestone for a venture he started 17 years ago.
Out of my mouth because I feel I'm still in space. So, and some of you will say I'm normally in space. So, I'll do my best. I was once a kid with a dream, looking up to the stars, and now I'm an adult in a spaceship looking back to our beautiful Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. You know, as you go into space, it just the views are breathtaking. I mean, there's no question we are so lucky to have this planet that we all live on, and that's what Virgin Orbit, our other space company that had a tremendous success last week, and Virgin Galactic. You know, we've got to all be doing everything we can to help this incredible planet we live on. I will devote the rest of my life doing that, and I think other people who go to space with us will devote the rest of their lives doing that. You know, it's just I'm never going to be able to do it justice. It's indescribably beautiful, and yeah. Anyway,
I know you've been very clear that this was not a race, but you have won. How does that feel now to have come first? And what words do you have for your competitors and friends in the space tourism industry?
I don't know how, I've said this so many times, it really wasn't a race, but we're just delighted that everything went so fantastically well. We wish Jeff the absolute best, and the people who are going up with him during his flight. It was great this morning to find Elon in my kitchen at 3 o'clock and to come to wish us the best. I'd already been to bed, and he still hadn't gone to bed. He's an all-nighter, and our time clocks are completely different. But so nice of him to come all this way to wish us well. And had a lovely goodwill message from Jeff as well. And
first off, you've conquered land, you've conquered sea, you've conquered air, now you've conquered space. What next?
As I said earlier, I think I'm an optimist. The next 30 years of my life will be devoted to doing, to an extent, what I've been doing the last 20 years, and that is we have a foundation that does great things for oceans and rainforests and the climate change. Anyway, a whole variety of things, and that's what I'll mainly be devoting my time to. Whether I will do another adventure, I'm not sure it'll be fair to put my family through another one. Whether it's, I think I've got the record for being pulled out of the sea 5 times by helicopters. So I think maybe I'll definitely give it a rest for the time being. I brought pictures of my kids when they were a little bit littler in front of a giant UFO, which actually you kids are like this. On April Fool's Day, we flew this UFO over London and caused absolute panic in Britain. They had the police, the army, everybody out and surrounded the UFO when it landed. And then we had a little ET figure that walked out of the UFO when an English bobby came up with a truncheon, and this English bobby ran for his life.
That's a great
pictures of my mum and dad, my mum is the spaceship. Sorry, the mothership is called Eve, so that's in her memory, and I know she'd be proud. Picture of the whole family. You asked the question. There was a lovely lady who I wanted to go to space, and sadly is no more. And her family asked if I would bring up this picture, which I was delighted to do. I tell you what. Somebody else asked me if I could bring up a picture of them. It was a bit heavy, so I brought up his head. Anybody recognize that head? Stephen Colbert, yeah. Anyway.
Miami Dade Fire Rescue released video this weekend showing the ongoing search effort taking place at the Surfside Affiliate Champlain Tower South building, which partially collapsed 2 weeks ago and was later demolished this past week.
When our personnel come off the debris pile, in order to ensure that there's no cross-contamination, we send them through this decon line to get them nice and clean. As you can see, the debris pile is enormous. We have about 150 workers breaking and breaching concrete and steel. And this is our staging area where we keep fresh personnel ready to replace workers on the pile when they get tired. For this operation, we have to incorporate heavy lifting and moving equipment. The size and scope of this operation, along with the large amounts of concrete and steel that we have to move, there's just no way humanly possible that we can move all of it without this heavy-duty equipment. And over here, we have our power supply for all of our tools. We're using them so frequently that we have to replace our batteries constantly. We have our generators, our rebar cutters, we have our chipping hammers to get through reinforced concrete, more cutting tools, more chipping tools, and our saws. And this is one of our rest and rehab areas. This is the area where our workers can get a little bit of rest after a hard operational period on the pile. And we're always maintaining this area, improving it, hooking up electrical, hooking up lights. And now we're at the back of the debris pile, and as you can see, there's a lot of heavy machinery here, engaged in a lot of operations with a lot of personnel, and you can get a real appreciation for how large this rescue operation truly is. Okay, this is another view of the back of the pile, and we wanted to get a little bit closer so you could have a full appreciation for the amount of debris, the denseness of the concrete, the amount of iron, the amount of material that we need to move. And now we're on the south side of the collapse by the pool area, and this is where the garage was, and this will allow you to take in how large this collapse truly was. We're in another rehab and tool equipment area. Because of the scope of this operation and the size of the footprint, we have to have multiple stations to provide rehab and equipment supplies to our crews. We've looked at the collapse site from a number of angles in order to give you an appreciation for the scope and magnitude of the work being performed. As mentioned before, we have a number of rescuers engaged in rescue operations.
Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank amount to a war crime, a UN human rights investigators said on Friday, calling on countries to inflict a cost on Israel for its illegal occupation.
Diplomatic and legal menu, and to make it clear to Israel that its illegal occupation and its defiance of international law and international opinion can and will no longer be cost-free. There is a straight line from the language in the Fourth Geneva Convention prohibiting settler implantation to the designation in the 1977 First Additional Protocol that the Israeli settlements are a flagrant violation under international law, to the language in the Rome Statute that such settlements constitute a war crime. In all of these cornerstone instruments of international law on settler implantation, the language is virtually the same.
At least 52 people were killed, 20 were injured, and many more were feared trapped after a massive fire raged through a juice-making factory in Bangladesh, officials said on Friday, in the latest industrial fire accident in the country. Keep watching Global Insight. For further updates, visit our website voiceofcanada.tv.